It's about time.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the terrible tournament of fun. My name is Jeremy Paul, aka Sleepy Juice, and this is StarCraft 2, so let's get into it. Now, we'll be looking at Game 3 here between our two Terran players, coming to you from Sydney for this game, and the loser of this game will be out of the tournament, as this is the loser's bracket. The winner will be working their way towards the final, where Grit is already waiting for them. Now, in the bottom left-hand side, we have our green Terran, Snake. Now, Snake has done extremely well. He's been aggressive in both games so far. In the top left corner, we have our red Terran, Chokeslam. Now, Chokeslam tends to choose build orders that are more economic focused. He's gone for a barracks into a command center in both games so far, where we have Snake, who has gone for an 8 Reaper rush in the first game, which did not work. He doing no damage whatsoever, fell too far behind and then lost the game. But in the second game, he came out with a very Wings of Liberty beta-ish Thor drop and ended up being able to do a bunch of damage, pushing in with 3 Thors and taking the game before it even got to the 12-minute mark. Now, we do have Frost here, which has our normal third and with the bridge off to the side here after you come down from the natural. But the 4th base is actually the other direction. So the 4th base is up north from this bottom left base. And that's going to leave a lot of engagements in this area here. So these 2 chokes we're going to see a lot of fights on this map in these areas. There's also a choke up here on the top of middle left where this bridge is, where people are going to try to push into this 4th base there. Now, assuming it gets to 4 bases, the last game was really fast, so we'll see how we go here. Now, both players we do see have, it looks like both are going for gas at this moment. Now, we have Chokeslam going for a little bit more aggressive build, it appears. He's actually getting gas down. He hasn't put down a command center yet. He has a scout up here in the top right now. It's possible this will be a proxy. It's also possible he just forgot about the scout and didn't shift move it to continue scouting for the enemy base. Now, the important thing to note for this map also is we have the 2 towers in the middle. They cover this entire path. Since the positions are on the same side of the map, this entire path is covered by these 2 towers. So it's very important to get those towers. You'll have foreknowledge of any army coming in. Even if they do pick off the unit on the tower, usually you'll get a pretty good shot of the army. At this league, we're not seeing too many split units with a single unit clearing a tower before the army actually rolls through. Now, we do see that Chokeslam is going to be putting down his factory in the top right of his base there, so he does going for a little bit more aggression. Look, we have a command center coming out for Snake. So Snake's going to be going for more of an economic build at this point, even though he is getting his 2 gases down already. So we'll see if he's going to go straight in from the command center into a tech play, or if he'll be going still with like a 3 barracks follow-up. We'll see how he goes there. Now, as this factory is getting close to finishing, we're going to see if he is going to go for a starport, so he can do things such as Widow Mine drops or Hellbat drops, things along those lines, or if he's going to go just for factory units straight off the bat, like if he's going to go for tanks for like a marine tank push or something along those lines. None of them are bad choices. It'll be interesting to see which one he picks out, and it does look like he's going for the starport directly after that. So it does look like we'll have Medivacs or even Banshees in play here if he does want to go for that. He's not producing anything out of the factory quite yet. We'll see how it goes. Oh, and he does drop an add-on there, and it's going to be a tech lab. Now, the tech lab could be for tanks, like we were saying. It could also be where he's going to lift the factory off and actually swap it with the starport and then make Banshees or Ravens. So Banshees are rather good in this matchup. With the cloak being reduced in the price recently, they make it for a lot more interesting openings instead of just being all Hellbats at the beginning of the game. Now, it does look like he's going to swap the starport, but it does get scanned right as he's doing it by Snake, so Snake has a pretty good idea of what's going on here. Even though he can't see that tech lab, I think he's going to understand what's happening here. Now, we do have Orbital Command finishing up on that expansion for Snake, so he's going to be able to lift that off soon and move that to his natural base. And when he puts his natural base down, he's going to end up wanting to move his army up to the front of the natural there. That is going to leave his back open for Banshees should that come in, but it does look like Chokeslam, even though he's making another tech lab here on the factory, he's using the tech lab on the starport to make Medivacs. Now, you don't need the tech lab to make medevacs, so it's kind of an interesting thing. He'd be better off with a reactor there, because then he can pump 2 medevacs out at a time. So maybe he's going to be going for some sort of later Banshee in this case. Now we do see the base here for Snakes looking rather good. He does have 3 barracks down, all with add-ons now, and he has the engineering bay ready to start some upgrades. He is ahead in workers currently, even though not by a whole lot. So he needs to get that expansion down because his build is going for more economy and less tech, so he needs to get that economy going. He doesn't want to fall behind there because then his lead from that build order, what that build order is trying to achieve, will actually be null and void. So he will be on equal footing in economy plus behind on tech, and that's not what we want. We want to be able to push ahead on something and then play to our advantages. So we have now Snake sending out Marines to different parts of the map. He's going to be checking out for things. Now, Snake is really good on this, and all 3 games that we've seen so far in this series, plus the games from the last series we casted with Snake in it, he was very good with his scouting. He knew what was going on the map at all times. Now, he is starting his armor upgrade, and he's also starting stim and combat shields, which are about to finish, actually. So, good upgrades for Snake. Snake also does a really good job keeping his upgrades up. So, and he, like we said, he's going to push out here to the ramp just outside of the choke of the natural. Now there is another ramp here that they can push up and kind of cut in. So he does seem to keep an eye on that. And it looks like we have medevacs coming out for Chokeslam, but they don't have anything in them. They're just empty medevacs at the board. Still nothing doing with the tech lab on that starport either. No Banshees or Ravens at the moment. Now, with the army, so we have medevacs out and tanks and Marines for Chokeslam. With the army having to hold, Snake's army having to hold that ramp so that he can get the economy up on his natural, that does leave him open for drops because he doesn't have enough units to cover all of that base. That is what makes that risky going for that economy play. If you get it going and you're successful at it, then you have a huge advantage going into the late game, but it does leave you open for these early to mid-game pushes. So it looks like Chokeslam's going to think twice after seeing the turret there and a large amount of Marines. Now this is great just foresight from Snake here, knowing that that drop can come in from that direction. Meanwhile, leaving an empty bunker up there, just kind of a show. So it's a really good play there by Snake. It almost feels as if he either has a really good idea of the timings or he's played Chokeslam before. Now he is going to throw in a couple Marauders here, but the Marauders are not going to be able to take out much here. Oh, but he does take out a tank with the 2 Marauders before pulling back. Now that tank should not have died. With 3 medevacs over top and the Marauders with their slow rate of fire, it would have been simple for him to load that 1 tank up into that medevac and save it from that Marauder. So it's a little bit of a slip there, losing that tank there for Chokeslam. He needs to kind of come back from that. He's falling behind on economy as we talked, so he's already behind in workers, 37 to 28 here. So he needs to get some sort of damage done. He's gone for this tech heavy build with not a whole lot of economy behind it. He needs to get some damage done because he's going up against an economy heavy build. Otherwise he'll just slowly start falling behind. Now we saw Snake has a Marine up there at the top to see for the 3rd base when it comes down. And see that poor SCV die, but it gets good scouting information, knows exactly where the army is. So Chokeslam's going to start slow pushing here, see if he can knock out some damage to kind of make up for the lack of economy that he had early game. He is going to poke in here, and it looks like they're going to take out that Widow Mine before it can do any damage. He'll probably have to drop a scan. Yep, there goes the scan. Now, this army here is just not in Chokeslam's favor. He went really heavy on tech, got a lot of tech buildings. Meanwhile, we have Snake, who's gone for economy first, and now he's kind of flushing with units, so he has a lot of lower tier units, but there are just a large amount of them, and they're all getting upgrades at the same time. You can see we just have combat shields just now going down for Chokeslam. Meanwhile, Snake already has +1 armor, which is really good against Marines because Marines shoot really fast. So the armor works well there because it takes a lot of damage off of their DPS. Now, the good drop there from Snake into the natural, another good Widow Mine shot there also, but Snake dropping in the natural while the entire army's out of place is a very good play here. So against tank-based armies, which have to be very stationary, we do see that Chokeslam's going to drop a few Marines here to try to stop this. Meanwhile, Chokeslam's push in the front here is not doing a whole lot as the tank goes down. He does have a tank in the back there that's still shelling the Marines, but it looks like they're going to clear out all of the bio there, and then the Marines are just going to be able to pull back and wait. Now, it does look like his natural's going to go down. He didn't lift it off, didn't pull it out of there. He had other things that he was working on. You can see his APM hovers right around the 70 to 80 mark, so he's not really high on his actions per minute, where we see Snake is actually somewhere between 150 to 200 pretty regularly. So Snake's going to be better at being able to bounce between two engagements at the same time, whereas you can see Chokeslam in that situation there was kind of not able to fulfill what he needed to do there on both fronts. Now we do have Snake dropping Marines directly on top of the tanks there, which is great. When you do that, not only are you allowed to shoot the tank, and the tank can't shoot you because they have a limited range of where they can. You have to be a certain amount of distance from them for them to shoot you. But also, other tanks that are sieged up will shoot that Marine and damage the tank he's standing next to. So it's a great tactic. Whenever you see a tank line, if you can get in there and drop units directly onto it, or if you can scan and drop a mule onto it, those things will cause the tanks to shoot each other. Well, we have another push out here from a single Marine. He'll die, but have great information. We see no tanks there. All the tanks went back home to defend the home base, and it looks like all those units are going to go down. He didn't pick up or take off with any of them, and it looks like at least two. No, we're going to go to one. Medevac is going to go down, which is a huge loss. You can see Chokeslam is just gigantically far behind, and the resources lost tab here. Now, we do see that Chokeslam's gone for attack first, and he's actually starting his second attack upgrade, and we do for Snake. Chokeslam's doing his armor upgrade. Right, Snake is actually done with armor, and he's starting his weapons. And then Chokeslam the opposite. So both of them are pretty even on upgrades. Snake is just now, Chokeslam is just now getting Stim Pack, so he's going to end up having Marines with Stim soon. He didn't have it that entire engagement. He was trying to contain. Looks like this medevac's been left out in the middle of nowhere and will get picked off. No, it doesn't. He's able to get it out of there. A lot of Marauders. Marauders don't shoot up. There's the problem, but that's okay. Had nothing in it, so it's not too worried. So it does look like we're kind of settling into a mid-game here. We kind of saw this in the first game also. Both players become very passive in their mid-games. We see Chokeslam here still has no natural up after losing his natural, but he has a great tank line right in front of his natural there. Meanwhile, we have Snake going for a very bio-based play with a couple mines here and there for just area area control. So he's going to park them outside of the natural for Chokeslam and try to pick off anything that comes out that door and do a little damage. Good sighting, plus it also allows you to do a little bit of a softening up of the Marines. Now this one Marauder that was survived the drop earlier is still picking off picks off the tech lab, does a little bit of damage here and there. We do see that Snake is actually just expanding as much as he can. We still have this Marine up here spotting for the third base, but you can see there's just a huge difference in economy right now. Snake is blowing Chokeslam away as far as the economy in this game, and you can see it's reflected in his army supply. Both the worker supply and the army supply is much higher, and you can see he already has his third base down. Now, it's going to be a question in this map here. With normally we would put our fourth expansion there, but with tanks being made for Chokeslam, it makes it a little bit dangerous because he can actually plant up on that ledge right there and shell the mineral line. So it'll be interesting to see where Snake ends up putting his fourth base. He has to make a decision there, but right now it looks like he's going to be going in for a push here. Now, he has a large enough supply lead that if he actually does this push properly, whether he elevators in and splits his army, or if he just stims all the way up to the Marines, or if he pushes in with a little bit and then drops. He doesn't have a whole lot of medevacs, unfortunately, but if he could drop directly onto that tanks and that tank line, he'll do a lot of damage that way. He's up to 4 medevacs now. He has enough supply lead. He should be able to take this, but with all those tanks there, it does leave us the chance to where things can go horribly wrong. Tanks are a very good equalizer if one player makes a mistake. Now there is a small engagement here, and it looks like Chokeslam's army is going to be pushed all the way back to the tank line. Snake's not going to fall into that, doesn't want to walk directly into the shelling line. He's going to load up and drop directly into the main base here, right next to where the tank is waiting. Let's see, he'll drop directly on the tank there. There he goes. And it looks like that tank will instantly go down. He's going to continue dropping onto the base there. Now, the way he's doing that moving drop thing, a lot of people don't understand that, is when you actually have your medevac selected, you continue moving them, hit the D button, click on the medevac, and you can continue moving the medevac while it's dropping your units. So just kind of a small tip for people who, I know a lot of people say they've never been able to do that, but a lot of time they just don't know exactly how. Now this is a horrible engagement here. Snake just kind of rolling into that tank line, just with only half of his army. We had the bio there from Chokeslam just eat up the bio for Snake because of all the tanks just shelling that army. You saw just multiple hits as they were running in. By the time they got to the point where they were shooting, half the army was already dead. Meanwhile, it looks like the army in the main was cleaned up also by a few tanks there, so not a good engagement for Snake. He split up, was able to attack the main, able to push in on the natural, but ended up losing so much army in that chain exchange that his supply is actually even with Chokeslam, but he's 20 workers ahead. So that's both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing if the game continues on because he'll continue to get further and further ahead. It's a bad thing if he dies because he has a smaller army. So we'll see how that goes. Chokeslam's pushing in here, clears out the watchtower. It took a small detachment to do that, which is very good. Now, the question is does he have enough to actually do enough damage to cripple Snake here? Snake has spread out his fourth to the opposite side of the map, so he's on the bottom right now, going into what would normally be the bottom right's third. And so he's expanding away from where those tanks would be able to shell up his fourth. So he's not going for a very aggressive expansion, like he's not going to be pushing from that forward fourth base. He's actually going to be expanding away from his opponent, which with tanks in play is a very good idea. The choke between the third and the fourth is really tight, so we'll see how that goes. But I still think that's a good decision in this case. Now we do see that Chokeslam's trying to do a drop here, but he waits so long to get his units out of the medevacs, and now he's pinned in there, and oh, he leaves his units behind, doesn't load them up in the medevac at all, and all those units go down and the medevacs get out of there. But that was just not a good engagement there. You can see Snake's really far behind in the resources lost still because of that horrible engagement he had just recently, but that evened it out a fair amount there. Now, the beauty of medevacs and being a drop Terran is that when you go in for a drop, you can retain those units. You can actually pick all those units up and get out of there and just add them back to your army. You don't need to rebuild them. You don't need to worry about constantly having to remax out. And we can see good income here for both the players, but I think a lot of Chokeslam's is Mule. You saw it just bounce down there at the end there. He's not sustaining that close to 2k income, where we have Snake on the other hand who is. Now, if Chokeslam is going to be going for these drop pushes and actually trying to harass and even out the economy, which is very good, he wants to do that stuff, he needs to retain those units. He can't be just losing them just to lose them. He needs to get those units back in the medevac and get out of there. Now that does take a fair amount of APM, and as we talked before, Chokeslam is a little bit slower in the APM than Snake is. So he's working with what he has, but he needs to try to retain those units and get those units out of there. Marines are cheap, but they're not free, and in a game where you're constantly fighting, and he's going to lose his third base here, but he's not been able to hold two bases securely for the entire game at all. Like, his second base was so late that he lost it at one point, and now he's lost his third. So again, I don't think Snake's gonna try to barrel up into this choke point again like he did the last time. He's gonna try to retain his units, keep Chokeslam stuck on two bases so that he cannot macro up, and then over time, just the pure economy advantage for Snake will take its toll, and he'll be able to constantly send wave after wave out of units, where Chokeslam's going to have to be super economic with his units. We do see another couple Widow Mines coming out there to get a little bit of area scouting and also area control. Great use of Widow Mines there. They're fairly cheap, great scouting. Make the other player have to waste a scan if they don't have any detection. This is very good. Now we do see another drop coming out for Chokeslam here, which is good because we saw the army for Snake out. So this is a great time to drop, try to do a bunch of economic damage. Now we need to get in there, do that economic damage, and then get everything loaded back up in those medevacs and get those units back to our home to defend against this army here. Now, if we do that thing again where we leave all the units there to just pull the medevacs, we're going to end up falling behind in this game because then you're losing more than the damage you're doing to the economy. So we can't be doing that. So let's see how he goes here. It does look like he's going to be dropping into the natural, which is an okay. He does have production there. He does have a lot of supply depots. Not a whole lot of minerals. So there are other bases that are mining more. Now another little hit squad comes in here and they're taking out all the tanks and he clears out the front. Meanwhile, we do have the drop for Chokeslam actually clearing out all of the natural. It's very good as far as cutting off his reinforcements coming from the main base and also killing a lot of production there. But here comes Snake's army and they're going to be rolling in here. We can see Snake's APM is again about double what Chokeslam's is. And it looks like just the army here is going to be huge. Now Chokeslam needs to get in those medevacs and get out of there. And again, he's going to pull those medevacs back, but not get any of the units out of there. In fact, he's even going to leave units here on the low ground, just outside of the base. Now we do see 4 Stargates here with Tech Lab and the energy upgrade for the battleships coming out. So it does look like battleships are going to be coming out, although he's supply blocked, like massively supply blocked. So he can only get 1 medevac out here. I'm sorry, 1 battle cruiser out. So we'll see if he gets that fixed up anytime. We do have the 4th base as a planetary fortress, gives a little bit more defensive. And we can see that he is going to be repairing the natural, so he can pick out the gas for that, because gas becomes very important as you go into late game, especially if he's going into Sky Terran, which it does look like he's going to be doing with all those starports and battle cruisers coming out. Now, he's probably it's a pretty common switch for a bio as you go into late game to go into Sky Terran. What you want to do is you want to start upgrading your weapons, your ship weapons and armor as you come close to 3-3 with your bio. And then, like we can see here, again, he's supply blocked, so none of them are coming out. We only have 1 coming out. But we're going to go into a large battle cruiser fleet, and then we're going to want Vikings for air support, which we can also drop down to the ground to clear out bases after we clear everything else out. And then we'll kind of move forward into either Banshees or Ravens, something to kind of add a little meat to the army. We always want to keep up a few Marines to keep the ground kind of cleared, and then at that point we can keep Mules or SCVs underneath the army to keep those battle cruisers healed. We have another push here from Snake as he's going in here and cleaning up the entire Chokeslam army, as Chokeslam went up there to clear out a mine from behind the 3rd base, and Chokeslam's going to have to lift that 3rd base up again and get out of there. A nice shot there from a tank, but really that's the only damage that Snake took there. We do also see that Yamada cannons coming down and more battle cruisers, so it is going to be a fairly large... That's a weird swap there. He had one base go to the 3rd where the other base was leaving, and then the base that was at the 3rd is now going down to the 4th. Now he's going to take that forward 4th, so that's a pretty decent decision for him considering he's going for a tank defense. You want to keep your bases as clustered as possible, as much multiple coverages as you can. If he went to the 4th like Snake did across map, he would actually be spread out really thin with the tank build. Now, it does look like Snake's going to be threatening this 3rd base again, and it looks like he's going to pull back at the moment. We'll see what he does. Constantly putting pressure on that 3rd base is keeping Chokeslam very defensive. You can see Chokeslam's drops, even when he's done them, have not been incredibly good, but he's always had to make a decision. I'm doing a drop to try to stop your aggression, not to do economic damage. I'm actually trying to get your attention away from my base. Now he has a Marauder come up here and start sniping out stuff, and the same trick he used last time, where he's going to pull units from Chokeslam up there to deal with that one unit, and then he's going to come up behind them and actually trap them up on this high ground, and there's nothing he can do. They all just move command out of there. Now he's going to try to cancel the 3rd base again, which he does, and he's going to roll into these tanks here. He's taking a lot of damage, but the tanks are going down. How many tanks can he take? Because there's a really good spread here from Chokeslam. Chokeslam's tank spread with where they're located and covering each other is incredibly good. That's what we like to see there. He's trying to actually heal this base here, but it's at a weird spot where I don't think anybody's actually fixing it at the moment. But let's go ahead and see where we're going with our battle cruisers here. All 4 of them are coming out. We have a total of 5, I believe, at the moment. Meanwhile, this base here is going to end up burning down if nobody gets over there to fix it. He doesn't have a whole lot of workers at his 4th base. You can see his economy is suffering greatly. You can see Snake's economy is a little bit lower than it's been recently also. He does have a 5th base in the bottom right and a 6th base next to that also. So he is kind of moving forward with his economy there, trying to keep it up as much as he can as he's going into the Sky Terran build here. But with the mules and everything, it does look like we're going to be bouncing pretty close to around the same amount of income, which is very important as we're going into these late macro games. You want to have that economic lead. You want the other player to have to be forcing not mules, but maybe supply drops, maybe scans, things like that, things that are not going to allow to keep them like this right here. He's going to end up having to drop mules on that, and there's a great Widow Mine placement because those Widow Mines are going to be able to pick off the mules left and right without much of in return. If he does go up there to kill those mines again, he's going to have to be worried about the last 2 times he's done that where he's been cut off and then lost a bunch of units. Now, Snake is going to run a few units higher behind the 4th base, but they're just going to be picked off by all the tanks there. Now, it does look like the tanks took a couple shots at their own SCVs, which is nice too. We do have more mules coming down there. Now, we do have a Hellion over at the 6th base for Snake, trying to kill off this SCV, and he does end up doing that before all those turrets get put down. Meanwhile, we have the mines up there, which have killed off two different mules. Another poke in here, and he's trying to get. Looks like what he's trying to do is scout that and also get those tanks to pick off SCVs. Got the one down to about half life. Now this one here, this Hellion, is being annoying, but the command center is being turned into a planetary fortress, and I don't think the Hellion's going to beat the planetary fortress. I could be wrong, but if Chokeslam's paying attention, he'll actually pull that Hellion back and get it out of there. Now we do see that Chokeslam's going to come up here on this ledge again and take out these Widow Mines, hopefully. If he has a scan, that's what we want to get him to use those scans. That's why he's putting Widow Mines there. And more scans, less mules. And it doesn't look like he has a scan available, so he's not going to be scanning that. And we do see that Snake's going for a drop directly on all of the tanks here, and you can see the tanks just blasting each other apart there. And there it goes. Every single one of the tanks, for the most part, is done, but it looks like it went at the cost of all of Snake's army. Now Snake is actually down. No, he's still ahead in supply. Now that's saying something. When you're at such an economic lead that you can basically sacrifice an army to kill tanks and still have the lead in the population count, you're pretty much ahead in this game to where you have a hold on. Now we do have the giant air Terran, the Sky Terran army up, and it does look like, even though Chokeslam has a lead in the army here, how good are tanks against air units? He has a lot of tanks, and we do see Snake scanning and dropping mules directly onto the rest of the tanks there. And this is what we were talking about before. The tanks will actually shoot each other while trying to kill the mules. So he's softening up all these tanks. The tanks are going to become very useless very soon because battleships and Banshees are going to be really good against them since tanks don't shoot up. So we'll see how they go. Now, we do have another drop coming in here against the 4th base. It does look like he's just clearing up supply here. He's not microing these units at all. We know he has the APM to do so, and he just basically runs all those units to their death. It looks like he's clearing up supply as he's at 200 supply there and needs to clear up some more from the air toss. And he gives a little bit of a oh crap there, but I'm not totally sure it was on accident. I think he might be playing a couple mind games here. Upgrades, we see that we have Snake at 3-3, Chokeslam at 3-3. Both Snake's actually one upgrade ahead in the weapons for the ship weapons, so we'll see how that goes. He definitely has a lead in the upgrades here. Now we do see Chokeslam's going to come and try to poke at the 4th base here and do some damage, but he is going to get a view of the Terran, the Sky Terran build here, and I think this is the first he's seen it. So all these tanks are going to die. I think he's going to have an oh crap moment here where he's just not prepared to deal with that many air units, and he is going to run all of his Marines up here and try to take care of all the oh, a battle cruiser comes out right on top of him too. He's going to try to take care of all the starports here, but between the battle cruisers, which one went down, then the army coming in, and also all the SCVs he just killed to defend that to buy him time, I don't think he's going to be able to win here. He is taking down 2 battle cruisers, which is very good. And where's the rest of that fleet? The fleet is coming in behind him. All the Vikings are going to knock out these medevacs pretty fast here. Now it looks like Chokeslam's going to try to take out the 3rd base here also, which he's doing a very good job. 3rd base goes down there also. He's cutting the economy for Snake, but I think this may actually be too little too late, because Snake's army is pretty large at the moment, and he can now just drop orbital commands, redo the population all in army, and instead of building SCVs, just drop mules. So, and you can see he has a bunch of energy. He's dropping the mules there to go with the army to repair as needed, so that the Marine shots that are going to be going after the Vikings and the battle cruisers are basically going to be being repaired directly as they're happening. I don't think Chokeslam has enough money to do this. You do see Chokeslam has a huge economic advantage at this exact moment. So if he can survive this and then get something out there, he may have a chance. But that was a whole lot of population he's going to be behind here as this base gets cleared up. So his main mining base now is cleared up. He still has his 3rd. Now the 3rd has a lot of minerals because it's been denied so often, but all of these tanks are just going to get wiped out. There's nothing that they can do. They just can't shoot up, so they're basically sitting ducks. He's going to try to buy some time by microing them back and forth, give him a little bit of chance to get up some defense, and he does have a fair amount of Marines, so that's one thing. But the question is we have some Yamato cannons going down on the tanks, so it looks like Snake's going to pull back, not ready to deal with all those Marines just yet. We'll see where he goes from this. He has Chokeslam pinned down to 3 bases now. He was able to cancel that 4th again, and meanwhile, Snake is at 6 bases. So you can see he's already refilling SCVs. He's got good saturation on the 5th base there. He has an enormous amount of mules and energy. For each planetary fortress he also has an orbital sitting next to it for energy, so he has enough energy to keep it up. Now, it does look like Chokeslam is going to be, besides defending this push here, he's going to be expanding in the top right also, but it looks like these Marines are catching all these battle cruisers out in the open. The question is if there's enough, and it doesn't look like there is. The battle cruisers are definitely coming out ahead here. Now, we do have Thors there taking shots at him, but the Thors, 2 Thors are not going to be enough for the battle cruisers. They might have been able to take out all the Vikings, but the battle cruisers themselves are going to win that battle. And it looks like Snake is going to push into the 3rd base here. Chokeslam's bringing his tanks back, but for what reason? He's probably better off actually pushing those down into Snake's base and doing damage there. Now we're going to see the 3rd base here fall apart, and it looks like all the SCVs are going to get massacred as they run away too. We have maybe 6 there get away. Now, it does look like Chokeslam is going to push his tanks. If we look back down here, he's going to push his tanks back into the natural of Snake to try to pull back that army again. He's doing his attacks to stop the forward aggression of Snake. He's never doing it on his own accord. It's always I need to get time. And in this case, it looks like it's working. Snake is going to pull his entire army back here to take care of those tanks. Meanwhile, Chokeslam's, like we said, he's expanded to the top right using all mules there. And it looks like here's all the tanks. The tanks are going to be taken out by the battle cruisers as they're coming in. The question is, will they be able to take out the command center first? All it is mining gas, and only 1 gas at that, so it's not a huge loss. It is sad to lose the energy on it, but not the worst thing ever. Unfortunately, there is an enormous amount of mining bases to the right side of the map, so there were probably better targets than that one there. Meanwhile, Chokeslam has taken again his 4th base, not his 3rd, and he still has that hidden base in the top right. So he does have some economy still going on. As you can see, he's actually a little bit ahead here in the income. Now, the question is what is the response? Because he's still making tanks. So we see that there's Snakes going for a Sky Terran, but and we lose another command center there. That's unfortunate. But Chokeslam is still going for this Marine tank build, and unfortunately the tanks are just completely useless. Snake is literally building nothing that the tanks can hit. So at this point, Chokeslam would be better off just adding production, but he doesn't have very much money, I guess, is the problem here. Now, he does have Thors, which are nice. Like, if he had the money, I'm sure he'd be continuing to build Thors, but not having all that money, I feel he'd be better off waiting and actually getting another Thor than actually pumping out another tank at this point. But it does look like Snake's going to push in here and just completely devour this entire army. There's nothing there that Chokeslam has, and that looks like that's going to be the game. He's going to be pushing in here, and all the production buildings are going to be going down. The Vikings are hovering over top this single tank, just waiting to die. And there it goes down. We see the Marines here, and there's the GG. That's a very good game. Snake's going to be moving on into this tournament. He'll be working his way towards the grand finals against Grit, but unfortunately for Chokeslam, Chokeslam is out of the tournament completely. Did play great though, had a great first game. It was wonderful to see. Now for everybody, please follow me on Twitter, and please like and subscribe to the tournaments, the videos for these tournaments. It means a lot to me, lets me know that we should do more. And until we talk next time, please go out, play games, and have fun.